Welcome inside the vault on a Victory Monday. It is the 27th of October. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is Sarah Ellison, and today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gunry Maryland. More on them in just a bit. If you could on the way in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and as always, you can go check out our apparel line by visiting thevaultpod.com/shop. Sarah, yesterday was a win, and then as the day kind of unfolded, it became threefold. I mean, wow. Everything went right for the Ravens yesterday, particularly given the way the rest of the AFC North played. And we're going to get into why Adam Schefter and maybe many of you out there right now are breathing newfound breath of, or just newfound life. Maybe you're feeling that newfound life right now. And a new season as the Ravens improved to 2-5, kept their postseason hopes alive with a much-needed win coming out of the bye against the Chicago Bears. So we will begin there. After that, Keaton Mitchell certainly sent a message. He did it with his on-field play, and the Ravens gave him a chance. And now begs the question, has he put them in a position where at this point you have got to continue to involve him, and even more so than that, continue to enhance his role within the confines of Todd Monken's offense. Tyler Huntley gets the last laugh on many folks, including Rex Ryan on the national level and a whole lot more in between. It's great to see you on this Monday, partner.
It's good to see you. And it just, like you said, the news kept getting better and better and better. And depending on which site you're looking at, this one's from ESPN Bet. ESPN Bet has the Ravens with the best odds to win the AFC North. That's where we're at this morning. How about the well, it's gone. I had it here somewhere. How about the New York Times? They've got the Ravens at a 46% chance of winning the AFC North with the Steelers at 51%. Bobby, it's just as crazy how 1 week in the NFL season can kind of turn things around. And to be honest with you, though, these betting odds have been more in the Ravens' favor for quite some time. It actually took until, week 6 or something like that for them to finally put the Steelers ahead of the Ravens. And here we are after just the Ravens' second win. The Ravens are back in the driver's seat. And it obviously has a lot to do with upcoming schedules. It has a lot to do with predictions that Lamar Jackson will be back, or that predictions that the defense is going to get better. Whatever the reason being, they're putting stuff into their algorithms. And there is just so much life in the Ravens right now. Good for the Ravens, but the rest of the AFC North, I guarantee they're like, don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on them in Baltimore.
And don't sleep on the teams that have done this before, what the Ravens are trying to accomplish, right, over the next 10 weeks. Since 1970, as you see on the screen, this graphic's courtesy of Pro Football Talk, the 1970 Bengals, 2015 Chiefs, 2018 Colts, and the 2020 Commanders, who were then called at that time the Washington Football Team, all started 1-5 and went on to make the playoffs. So that's what the Ravens are attempting to accomplish right now. And Sarah's got a little something to accomplish on her own right now. She's got to get her heat back on in Columbus, Ohio. So we will just stand by for her return to the show. That's priority number one. I can't speak to that right now in sunny Florida, but let's make sure the Ellison household has its heat at some point here, hopefully later today. But Adam Schefter from ESPN had this to say. Maybe some of you guys can relate and echo his sentiments on this Monday, this Victory Monday morning.
Steelers can now feel the Baltimore Ravens coming. Yeah. Because the Ravens won yesterday. Lamar Jackson's coming back. The Pittsburgh Steelers lost at home in another game where they made another quarterback look great. And Jordan Love is a great quarterback. But again, when you're playing against Pittsburgh's defense or Dallas's defense or Cincinnati's defense, inevitably your quarterback rating is going to grow, your stats are going to grow, and you're going to look really good that day.
On that note, this is what's crazy. I mean, this is the most expensive defense in football.
Right.
They're dead last in pass defense. Right. And they've gone and made these moves for Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slade. And I think they think they're a man team. They're playing all this man on the back end, and they cannot hold up. They can't get pressure. QBs the last 2 weeks, if you play quarterback against these guys and they're in man, your QB rating is 85, Woody. 85, like just.
Well, I mean,
it's.
I mean,
they got serious questions they got to get answered and get answered fast.
I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are like Oprah Winfrey. You get a contract, you get a contract, and those guys can't even sniff the quarterback.
And the whole division right now is down. But Pittsburgh blew an opportunity last night to stay out in front, and now you can just feel the Baltimore Ravens coming. And you can, because the defenses on all these teams are struggling.
Let me put up A19 to show you just how much coming they are at this point. The Steelers dropping 2 games in a row. The Baltimore Ravens at ESPN Bet are now odds-on favorites to win the AFC North.
At 2-5.
At 2-5. Those of you who don't speak gambling, odds-on means a better chance than not that they win the division. This after a game that they won with Tyler Huntley. They're still 2 games back of the Steelers, but the Ravens' next 4 games are Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, and Jets. So a chance to climb back into this thing.
Okay, so again, that was part of the national commentary earlier this morning, courtesy of ESPN's Get Up, that Adam Schefter feels like this AFC North division, 3 of the 4 teams, of course, not counting the Ravens, lost yesterday. The Ravens take care of business. This is exactly what they needed, and it's the first of many steps, of course, to digging themselves out of this hole that they've built themselves. And again, they're trying to join this list right here and become the 5th team since the merger in 1970 to make the playoffs after starting 1-5. And the next step, of course, is what's next. 4 days from now, when the Ravens quickly turn around, play the Miami Dolphins on the road at Hard Rock Stadium in what will obviously be a short week. What did the Steelers do last night? Well, quite frankly, they looked unrecognizable as a defense. They looked undisciplined. Some DK Metcalf antics there in game. They turned the ball over in a key situation. They were 1 for 10 on 3rd down. And ultimately, Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, certainly a Super Bowl favorite or a favorite to come out of the NFC, spoil the whole Aaron Rodgers versus his former team storyline, which a lot of folks were talking about going into last night in Pittsburgh. Green Bay beats the Steelers 35-25. Pittsburgh drops to 4-3. The Packers improve to 5-1-1. And so all of a sudden, this AFC North division looks a little bit different. Looks a little bit different than it did a week ago. Here's the rest of how things shook out. We talked about this during our quick hit section on our instant reaction last night. But just because it warrants repeat, Cleveland spoiled a 5-sack performance by Myles Garrett. 5 sacks in one game. And they get clobbered by Drake May and the Patriots in New England. 32-13 was the final there. So Cleveland continues to search for answers. The Jets, the Jets, Sarah, 23 fourth quarter points led by Justin Fields and company, inexplicably come back to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. And yeah, as a result, this division's looking a whole lot different. Steelers still atop it, 4-3. Bengals are 3-5. Ravens are 2-5. Cleveland is 2-6. But I think you know why we began with this. Adam Schefter and many others feeling like, one, this division has a clear understanding of what the Ravens have been, what they've dug themselves out of in the past, even though it wasn't quite as deep of a hole as where they find themselves in this year. But knowing what's going on, you just get the sense that this division's going to take shape in 10 different ways between now and 2 months down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because we're all going to play each other. It's all going to happen. Have you played the Adam Schefter clip yet?
I have.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just, it was fun to watch that game last night. Just being on the other side, hoping that the Steelers lose in those terrible uniforms. Well, I do a throwback to those, by the way. Woof. Woof. Jordan Love was just sensational when you have 20 completions in a row. You heard it in that clip there. It's just like, it's hard to do 7-on-7 on air, just 20 times, get it exactly right every throw. And, while I'm happy that he had that type of performance against the Steelers, I hope he goes back to going on a roller coaster, because I know the Ravens are going to have the Green Bay Packers later on this season. But woo-wee. And you know what? Looking over at Cleveland, don't feel bad for Myles Garrett at all. Those 5 sacks. He's the first player to have 5 sacks, and yet they lose by more than 3 points, and Cleveland lost by 19. He didn't have to stay there. He liked the check that they presented to him, so now he's staying there, and he's got to roll with all these losses. And this is why, Bobby, you can't get too high and you can't get too low. You can't get too high today. The Ravens won 1 game for the first time since week 2. They absolutely have to follow it up on Thursday, or all of this just goes, you just go back to the way we've been feeling since week 2. So they have to follow it up. But this is why you can't get too high and you can't get too low in an NFL season, because schedules change, injuries change, momentum changes, it all changes. But on this morning, this Monday victory morning, the Ravens, according to ESPN Bet, are the favorites to win the division once again.
I thought it was encouraging to hear Bears head coach Ben Johnson, from the opponent's perspective, speak like this post-game last night.
Can always does a great job just schematically mixing things up. And like I said before, they play a physical brand of football. And so that showed up. That offensive line was getting after it. And, I thought our defensive line, it was quite a battle there throughout the game. We were intent on not letting 22 get started. I thought for the most part we did a pretty good job of that. But then, Huntley hurt us with both his arm and his legs. We let him get some big ones on the ground, and then he threw some accurate balls there in the air. And so I think at one point he was like 12 of 13 or something like that coming out of halftime. So, he played really well, and we didn't do enough to affect him.
Interesting, couple different things there, and we're going to get to the ground game and Keaton Mitchell's role coming up later on in the show, Sarah. But he's right. They did do a decent job when it comes to Derrick Henry. Now, he still had 2 red zone touchdowns and still put up 71 yards on the ground. When you average that out, it was just over 3 yards per carry. So they did a good job. But the team as a whole, including Tyler Huntley, who chipped in 50 plus of his own, went for 177. But he noted that they play a physical brand of football. And I think that's what's encouraging, to hear an opponent post-game after getting beaten up, complimenting them from an offensive line standpoint, the way they moved bodies, the way that they were acting in the trenches. That's a positive sign moving forward. We're going to speak with Derek Coleman from All 22. He's going to bring in, you already know, he's going to be ready to go. An astute segment is coming up tomorrow on all things defense and some glaring deficiencies that he still feels like we need to talk about. But the fact that they've now strung together 2 weeks in a row, if you take the bye out, once against the Rams and one now of more Raven-like or average, statistically speaking, football, great sign of things to come. A lot of it, I think, has to do with Alohi Gilman. And by the way, I saw an insane statistic, and maybe not insane because it's not all that surprising, but a statistic that makes me feel good moving forward about where they're heading defensively. Kyle Hamilton aligned in the box on 61.3% of his defensive snaps in yesterday's win over Chicago. That's the highest rate in a game. This is Next Gen Stats since week 8 of 2022. You're going to see a lot more of that down the stretch, I would think.
It's just so interesting how this year's solution to the defense was the exact opposite of last year. Like last year, they got better when they moved Kyle Hamilton back and made him more of that safety role. And now putting him back in the box is the solution this time around. And it's because of what you have going on around you. And so last year they had communication breakdowns all over the place in the back end, and the front 7 was generally okay. You had Matabike in there still, and both Odafe and KVN became double-digit sack leaders. And so it was more of a problem on the back end. So you move Kyle back. This year, you had to go and trade for Alohi Gilman, and then you've got a first-round pick in Malachi Starks, and your cornerbacks group is pretty sturdy too. And so it's like, well, this time we need him up front because we can't get any pressure after Matabike was knocked out for the season, and our edge rushers aren't getting home on their own. And so it's just such a blessing or a privilege that this Ravens defense has to have Kyle Hamilton be like, hey, we'll just move around based on where the weaknesses are, because he covers a lot of holes. And so, with that, now we know that going forward, here's the schedules. Here's the schedules of the two teams that you want to know about. You know that the defense is trending in the right direction, as we just discussed. And since the trade of Alohi Gilman, the Ravens had now held two winning opponents. They're not world beaters, but they've held two winning opponents below 20 points. They've got their running game a little bit more on track. Talk about that more. And then here's the schedule. The Ravens' next games are against a lot of away games, three away games, at Miami, at Minnesota, and at Cleveland.
And there's a mini bye in between the Dolphins and the Vikings game, obviously, coming off Thursday night.
Yep, exactly. And then you've got at home versus the Jets and at home versus the Bengals. Listen, this is the NFL. Anything can happen any given Sunday. But that is a schedule that you definitely on paper can go undefeated against. Meanwhile, the Steelers, after dropping 2 straight, now have to go against the Indianapolis Colts, who have the best record in the AFC. Then they have to go all the way out to California and play the Chargers, who are, where are they right now in the AFC West? I mean, them and the Chiefs and the Broncos all playing, decently well. They're all competitive. Then they take on the Bengals, Bears, Bills, and then Baltimore. So, again, anything can happen, but on paper, we're about to hit a stretch that there is this is partially why you're seeing the betting market saying, hey, we like the Ravens as a favorite, or at least right there, almost a 50-50 shot, because these two set of opponents do not look alike.
You're asking about the AFC West. Denver 6-2, Chargers are 5-3, Chiefs are 4-3. They play tonight. Chiefs are 4-3, play tonight, and the Raiders are 2-5. So you take Vegas out of there, and it's a heck of a division. I mean, that's just a heck of a division, as it tends to be in recent years. And Denver just absolutely smoked Dallas yesterday. Like just smoked them. And the Cowboys have major issues defensively, as Pittsburgh does as well. So yes, on paper, to your point, does this look favorable for the Ravens? Yes, it does. Whether you look at it from a win-loss record standpoint, the way they've handled these teams in the past, or just given the way this sets up with the mini bye included in there, knowing that the Dolphins are in disarray right now, knowing that Cleveland may have another quarterback change. Who knows? They're probably going to want to get a look at Shedeur at some point this season if Dylan Gabriel continues to play in pedestrian-like form. And so I agree. I agree with that. I'll just continue to kind of exercise that level of caution in terms of, hey, show me that you can handle this razor-thin margin for error that you've now put yourself into. Show me that you're capable of completely taking the trap game scenario out of play over the next 5 weeks. And show me that these defensive alignment changes and personnel will continue to move in the right direction. Because so far, so good. It's a Bears team that we know, not only from a coaching staff standpoint, mismanaged the end of the first half and the end of regulation, but was down 3 key starters in their secondary, which is part of the reason why I think Todd Monken made a concerted effort with Tyler Huntley at times to test them vertically. So show me that you can go on a run like we've grown accustomed to seeing as they mow down their competition in the regular season, claw their way back into things. The fact that they, it's funny. I was talking to my dad this morning, and of course, he's trying to take a victory lap on me. You shouldn't have been calling for Harbaugh's head. You shouldn't have called it so soon. Right? He's doing. Francis is having a good old time with me this morning. And I said, Dad, here's the thing, though. And because he wanted to talk about how the fact that they hadn't played enough AFC North games yet to truly feel confident about calling it as early as I did with my whole Cook statement. And I told him, I said, Dad, I think it's a blessing and a curse that they've only played one AFC North game so far. it's a blessing in the sense that this entire thing is still there for the taking. It's a curse because it's always wonky in the AFC North, and you just never know. So, particularly when it comes to the Steelers, as many deficiencies as were exposed last night on Sunday Night Football, you just never know. So, little snippet into me and Francis speaking this morning.
Listen, I could push back a little bit, but I have to take myself off screen again for a little bit. If you can't tell, there's some craziness going on behind the scenes. So I'm going to let you do a read and super chats, and I'll be right back with you. And I might be able to push back at another time.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sounds get heat back, please.
Yeah.
Get heat back at the Ellison household. That's what's going on over there. Okay. Appreciate you guys for being with us today. Again, you see it right here. The 5 weeks ahead. Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, New York, meaning the Jets, and the Bengals. And that is what lies ahead for the Ravens. Guys, we want to say thank you to Gunry for the continued support of our program. They have been sponsoring the show all football season long, and we got a little something to share with you. A little new feature, if you will, of this continued partnership. And just in case you aren't familiar with Gunry Maryland, located in Owings Mills, Maryland, I'll refresh you quickly before we tell you this new wrinkle. It's a state-of-the-art training and recreational facility. It's got 86,000 square feet with 46 different lanes. It offers the size and amenities of a country club, but it is open to the public. They have a mission, and it's pretty simple. It revolves around safety, education, and training for all skill levels, from beginners all the way up to professionals. You've got firearm range, retail, training. There's a bunch of different sectors within this incredible complex. They offer archery and range and you name it, fitness, simulators, multi-sport simulators. There's a cafe there. But I want to talk about event spaces today because the beauty of what they have is with all that space, with all these accommodations, you can rent out a venue. You can rent out a space. So maybe it's available for your next corporate event. Maybe it's just a social event like a birthday or an anniversary, you name it. Private events, they've got catering options from their in-house chef that maybe you might be interested in taking a look at. And again, if you click on the link that we have included in the top of the show notes and as a pinned comment right now in our live chat, you'll learn more about what they have available to you. There's customizable space. Their VIP lounge is 6,000 square feet of open space that can be arranged for your party's needs and accommodates up to 120 people. Look at all these Ravens fans in here, by the way. I love it. Full service catering. Again, they have an executive chef. You can create the perfect menu for your event. Create an unforgettable experience by adding access to their ranges and simulators. Their experienced and friendly range instructors will ensure everyone has a safe and fun time. Look at this, too. Wedding venues. Who knew? Wedding venues exist at Gunry Maryland. One of the qualities that makes Gunry such a high-end shooting range is their dedication to service, and event planning is no exception. Their job is to help you throw a fabulous party, and they take that job very seriously. Reading directly from this site right here. Country club amenities coupled with high-end indoor ranges make for an amazing party, corporate event, or wedding reception. Everything's clean, up to date. By the way, they got a cigar lounge as well, which is pretty darn cool. They just had an awesome, successful cigar and bourbon night. So, promo code VAULT-EVENT. That's VAULTEVENT. Promo code VAULT-EVENT. It's going to get you $250 off your deposit if it's made by November 16th. The deposit has to be made by November 16th. You can also go in person if you'd like, if you're in the Owings Mills area, and just go have a chat with Paul Glomp, who is general manager. There's Paul right there with his extension. You can call him today if you're interested, 443-973-4867. Extension is 119. So again, promo code VAULT-EVENT. If you'd like to throw a deposit down, just know that promo code is going to take $250 off your deposit, and maybe you want to throw a little party, a little something coming up this fall into the winter. And thanks to Gunry for the continued support. We appreciate them. And I didn't even see that you were back because I had the screen share.
It's all
Welcome
good.
back. Let's get some super chats.
Let's do it.
Douglas H. Brown Sr. says, raining here in Western North Carolina, so it gives me a chance to be in the house. Great wrap up yesterday, Sarah and Bobby. Bobby, I got on the flock for picking on you. No need. I don't need any support, but I appreciate you, DHP Sr.
Everybody does.
Who's also gifted a 5-channel spot. 5 new channel memberships exist thanks to Douglas. Appreciate you. Penn Alley's become a channel member, official VAULTRON. So welcome, Penn Alley. And that brings us to David Cool, who's celebrating 5 months of channel membership.
Yeah, David said, makes a lot of sense that Sarah came up with late for work. I'm still with Bobby. We dug too deep of a hole. Happy Monday, fam.
Laverto Jean Charles says, Sarah's trying to get her heat back on in her house. So that's what's going on in Columbus. Laverto says, Bobby and Sarah, though I am not a Ravens fan, I truly enjoy the insight and passion you both bring weekly. Keep the consistency and authenticity going. That's cool. So you just hanging with us because you enjoy the content. It's pretty cool.
There we go.
Captain, what's up, Captain?
He says, we make it to the playoffs. Team must have turned things around, and I would feel more comfortable going into the playoffs than any time we've had the first seed because we would have gone through adversity.
That brings us to JT401, and he says, hope the rumors of EDC trading for a corner are not true. We need to address both sides of the trenches expeditiously. #protect8. Jason Zarotniak celebrating 5 months with us. Thanks, Jason.
Jason says, yesterday was encouraging. That said, we need more of the same, more dynamic defense, more Mitchell, more Henry, and the return of a healthy Lamar.
I think that's a good even keel super chat there from Jason. Chef Trez says, Derek and Keaton equals thunder and lightning. Inexcusable for Keaton to be sidelined so long. Shaking my effing head. Ball is in EDC's court to shore up the offensive line and defensive line. #barring something unforeseen. #amnesia Bobby. Little inside joke from my personal channel. Chef likes to count my crutch phrases. Yvette Biggs is in the house.
Yvette says, hey, #Voltrons hiked Hocking Hills. Ode to Sarah. That is a very nice place. Very nice place, Bobby. If we ever do a Vault Summit here again, that might be a place we should all go down to. But hiked Hocking Hills and watched a fun game with the Flock chapter of Ohio, holding my breath till Thursday. That's right. Enjoy it until Thursday. And if they win, it'd be a nice 10 days to enjoy it.
The rest of the organization can't even do a 24-hour reset because it's already in Miami. And I'm sure that process started over the bye. Robbie Pate says, I almost cried when I saw Derek and Keaton out there. This running back duo plus Lamar will shut things down this season. Scrap Skrilla the Reeler is in the house.
Says, what's up, moonwalking Bobby? Hee. Laughing emotions. Hi, S.
Rave says, everyone remember, John has the same offensive line. Stop. Juju Bean says, Ravens got to get it done. No excuses. If they can't win the next 5 games and beat the Steelers, they were never good to begin with. It's simple. Quincy Foreman's in here.
Happy that we won. Yesterday was the closest we've had to a complete game. Agreed. Happy it happened, but unfortunately, I'm not ready to completely forget the first 5 games or the first 5 losses, nor should you. #Go Ravens, #Vault.
Thanks, Quincy. Jared Thomas says, Sarah, sometimes rap music on a Sunday works. Snoop was dropping bars on that football field yesterday against the Bears. LOL, and we are getting to Snoop right now. Over 2,500 concurrents at the moment on this Victory Monday. We appreciate you guys for being with us. If you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And again, we want to say thanks to Gunry Maryland for continuing to support this show the day after games. On to Snoop.
On to Snoop. Let's do it. So listen, we talked a bit about Snoop yesterday in the game that he had. But man, it's just bigger than the one game. There's just so much. The entire Ravens team, and they did this in the locker room yesterday in the locker room. John Harbaugh was giving out game balls. He shouted out a lot of people. They give a lot of those hoorahs. That's their thing in 2025. but he was saving Snoop Huntley for last. And before he could even say his name, he goes, guys, and now the last kind of, but not least kind of a line. And everybody just starts yelling, Snoop, just a massively big game for him. Very few people believe that he could get it done. Femi Avindeja was clearly one of them. Rex Ryan, by the way, was not one of them. Bobby, I know you had posted a video of Rex going into it where he was just a complete unbeliever. I'm trying to see which one it is. I think it's this one.
Starting today in place of Lamar Jackson. Look.
Let me get it queued up a little bit further in.
Total points in those 2 games. They're 3-11 in their last 14 games without him, including the playoffs. Rex, you have a dumbfounded expression on your face. Why?
Yeah, because I'm just saying, look, they go to Huntley, and he couldn't win when they could play defense. Now they can't play defense, and we're expecting them to, don't worry about it. We're the mighty Ravens. No, you're not anymore. You're not. And this thing with Lamar not being able to play again, man, I like the Bears big time in this one.
And Rex isn't alone, right? I mean, Rex is not alone. Here on the show, many were saying, no way Huntley can do it. And so it's just a huge moment for him. And Bobby, to me, he came back a different version of himself, a better version of himself as he's gotten more experience as he's gone around the league. And I love yesterday the camaraderie that Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley had together. Rex Ryan didn't believe in him. Many people didn't believe in him. But Lamar Jackson was up, giving him support the entire time, was completely engaged. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. And then when he was asked about Lamar and the support that he gives, you can tell these guys connect both on the field, but also as a friendship, both coming from South Florida. And he called Lamar his mentor.
We talk all the time, and we can talk about anything. So we just, I don't even know how to answer that one. We talk all the time. So I think he just helpful, like just being there, like even when he's there, but not being able to go or whatnot, he's able to just be your support, and because he been there, done that, and he's just a great mentor to even have as my brother.
Calling him his brother, calling him his mentor, calling him a big support. I just don't know if should be a reason that the Ravens don't re-sign him as quarterback too. You can tell that it's not just Lamar. Zay Flowers, it's like there's just something about Snoop that his entire team gravitates to. And so then he comes in here and helps along with a lot of other people. The defense played well. They got 2 takeovers. The running game came back in. I thought both coordinators called a good game. So it wasn't only Snoop, but it was a big time part of Snoop. And I just don't see any reason why the Ravens shouldn't continue with him going forward, not just this season, but beyond.
What's funny about this is I had no problem with what Rex said, but the beauty of football is that these guys have the opportunity to go out there and shut us up. And they did yesterday. And so you tip your cap to Snoop for filling in a pinch, being prepared, most importantly, executing. And maybe the most important part of this entire thing, though, was being set up for success. And that's what he was. And that's why I thought Todd Monken, I kind of stood on that table last night. He was deserving of a game ball. They got that football out of Tyler's hands quickly. And the offense, aside from that first 3 and out in the first quarter, the only 3 snaps that they logged as an offense, the entire opening frame, they moved the ball methodically. And I thought that from a personnel standpoint, I'll let Pat Ricard speak for me here. Listen to Pat Ricard on Monken.
A lot of great things with different personnel groups to make us less predictable and put guys in the right positions. I think it showed with just how we're moving the ball, getting first downs, getting points on most of our drives at the end of them. Obviously we want to have touchdowns at the end of every drive, but getting points is big. It's big for the offense and our just morale of, moving the ball, getting points. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Less predictable. Interesting choice of words there from Pat Ricard, who of course made his season debut, Sarah. And boy, if you go back and listen to that press conference there, or media scrum, if you will, about 4+ minutes of Pat Ricard. And if it wasn't abundantly clear that he was heartbroken, I mean, just gut-wrenched to not be available for the first 7 weeks of this season, I don't know what you have to I don't know what would have made it abundantly clear. It was abundantly clear that he was hurting inside to not be available, and they certainly welcomed him back. Now, he was on a little bit of a snap count. Saw it was only about 13 snaps, I think, if it was Jeff, if I'm remembering correctly from what Jeff posted this morning. But the bottom line is Snoop went out there, played within the confines of Todd Monken's scheme. Todd set him up for success. The personnel groupings, the jet sweeps, the complementary football, right? The way that he married the pass and the run. And ultimately, number 5, it's still crazy to see Tyler in the number 5 out there. He got it done when this team had its back against the wall. And for that, I salute him.
Totally got it done. And here's the other thing. You know what else he got? What he got done? Just coming back to the Ravens in general. We mentioned this last night that he sent a text message to John Harbaugh. It wasn't the Ravens reaching out to him because obviously they went ahead and got Cooper Rush. And it was Snoop Huntley that actually put his return to Baltimore in motion.
I'll say it was early in training camp, and then I got done working out hard, and I was just like, man, I would love to play for the best team in National Football League again. So I just text Harz, and I was like, give me a call. I know you're in camp. Just give me a call when you got a chance. And he called me like right back. I ain't expecting him to call right back. He was like, and we just went on and just talked, and it was just like relationships last forever. So, I was just grateful for that.
Man, so he was the one who reached out. John Harbaugh got back to him right away. And boy, was John grateful for his play yesterday. The reporters asked him, for his analysis of how Tyler played. He talked a long time about what he brings to the table, both with his legs and his arm. And then he finished up by saying, I don't think he can play any better than that. That was one of the all-time great performances. Then he looks over at Snoop, who was waiting for his turn to come to podium. So he's sitting down over to John Harbaugh's left. John looks over to him and says, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You had all the naysayers. I can't say that I was as confident as others. I can say out of a Hail Mary pick, I still would have predicted the Ravens to win. If I knew that Lamar wasn't going to play, I never got that chance to make that prediction because I was under the assumption that Lamar would play. And I just thought that because the Ravens' backs were against the wall that they had to have it. But I'm so happy that he got the last laugh. I'm so happy he's back to the team that he wanted to be with. I'm so happy that he and Lamar are supportive of one another and that he has a mentor like Lamar, and that Lamar, as much as he's been probably wants to be out there himself, I loved seeing the camaraderie and the brotherhood between these two.
I'm not quite sure why the Ravens have deviated from, while I endorsed and felt encouraged by the decision to bring in Cooper Rush in March, I still found it peculiar. And I know we both talked about this. I can remember it vividly. And back in March, we both spoke about why they've deviated away from stylistically quarterbacks that back up Lamar that are the complete opposite of him. We've seen it with Josh Johnson. We've seen it with Cooper Rush. We've seen it with Devin Leary. I don't really get it. And that's not to say that, there's another Lamar Jackson waiting in the wings, or you can go find Lamar as an undrafted rookie or a similar type. I'm talking about schematically. A player that gives you a chance, right, in a pinch, like the way the Ravens have been over the last few weeks, to at least retain some of your schematics so that you're not shifting over everything. You're not overhauling your entire offense. And so Eric DeCosta will have to answer for that, Sarah, at some point. I'm sure it'll be in the offseason. And I wonder how he handles it. I wonder if it's just, hey, it was a swing and a miss. We felt like we liked what he saw, what he put on tape during his time in Dallas. We appreciated the way that he's able to run an offense. I'll be very curious to see how he handles that, because I think stylistically and schematically, Tyler Huntley has proven that they can't run everything. They can't retain everything, but they can at least bring in an element of what you want to do when Lamar is in the game. And I think you saw why that paid dividends yesterday.
Yeah. And Yeah, just to clear up my prediction of if I knew Lamar couldn't go, it had been reported that it would be Tyler Huntley early in the week. So I would have predicted the Ravens to win with Tyler Huntley. Some people thinking that I meant Cooper Rush. No, Tyler Huntley. Had Lamar not been able to go, because I was under the assumption that Tyler Huntley would be QB2 with him, I would have predicted the Ravens to win without him, although I wouldn't have had as much confidence as Femi did. So I want to give him his flowers on that. Now, part of that going on here, the reason why, and I said this after the game, and I love saying that other Ravens podcasters and content creators were seeing the same thing I was. Rita over at 105.7 The Fan said this is not the same Huntley as before. He's poised, concise, and throwing really good passes. He's gotten better. I love him for that. Spencer Schultz, quote, retweets that and writes, his mechanics are night and day. Got a little loose on the run, but his throw ready mechanics are so much better. He's fast. He competes. We gave him an awesome look to get acclimated, and he will be the Ravens backup for quite some time. He was really nice getting to landmarks in run game and managing option runs. And that's just it. Bobby, I echo what you said. Like, he's not Lamar Jackson. Nobody is. Lamar Jackson is generational. But perhaps the Ravens got a little bit overconfident in feeling like they could run two different offenses, two different offensive schemes with a different backup. And they've shown that confidence for longer than just this year by who they drafted in Devin Leary 2 years ago. And so at the time I was like, well, shoot, if you're not going to get somebody who can run the same scheme, then why not go back to like a Joe Flacco or something like that? But I think it shows that it's like, maybe a coach may feel like, or like Todd Monken and John Harbaugh feel like, yeah, we could probably put together the X's and O's of it on the fly and put together a different scheme because we have this different personnel. We can go out with 3 wide receivers, or we can go more 2 tight end sets or 2 running backs or whatever. And it's like, but can players change on the fly like that? Can Zay Flowers change to a Cooper Rush the way he could to a Tyler Huntley? And so it just seems to me that maybe they got a little too confident in saying, oh, we don't need to have somebody in the Lamar Jackson fold and we can just change the scheme on the fly. I don't think that experiment worked. And hopefully they continue to go this route, like I said, with Tyler Huntley or other quarterbacks, that it can at least run the same scheme.
Every offseason we talk about this scenario and we ask ourselves, who's the QB2 that we feel like in this type of scenario, 2 to 4 weeks, and your starter is down, who can best weather the storm? Not who's going to win every single game, not who's going to play like Lamar, not who's going to take down the AFC elites consistently, but who will weather the storm, meaning he'll win you a game when you absolutely need it. He's going to play within the confines of the offense. He's going to play mistake-free football. I think Tyler Huntley can be that guy. Not week in and week out, not for a full 17-game, 18-week season, but for that condensed period of time when your quarterback needs you to at least hold down the fort. We're obviously not going to see that sample size from Tyler this year. The expectation is that Lamar will return on Thursday night, but I think Snoop can be that guy for them. He's been in the past, and he was yesterday. And for that, it's a positive.
Well, that's the thing, is he's actually changed my mind, because he wasn't in the past. Like he did win against the Bears. But one of the reasons why I mistakenly put confidence in Cooper Rush in the offseason over Tyler Huntley is because Cooper Rush had that winning record. We had seen Tyler Huntley with the Ravens, and when Lamar went down, and it just wasn't enough. Like the season, in 21 and 22, when Lamar went down, the season tanked. It just tanked. And then this year it happened again, but Snoop turned it around in this one game. But based off of what I saw yesterday, and that's why I read these 2 tweets from others, is we can see that he has improved. And so now it's like, wait, what you just said, the statement about him, yeah, I believe it now. In the past, it wasn't happening. But this new improved version, I have much more faith in it.
Just to be clear, in the past, in 21 and 22, that man was tasked with almost nearly a second half of a season. And so what I mean by weathering the storm, I'm talking about those small little pockets of time right? Like a window that he finds himself in right now. Now, granted, hindsight's 2020. You wish you went to him obviously earlier than you did Cooper before all those decisions were made personnel wise. So much more equipped at this point to handle that small, brief month, let's call it, or less. Let's call it a 2 to 4 game type of, rather than an entire second half of a season. So just to clarify what I mean by that weathering the storm time period sample size wise.
All right. Well, before I know we got a whole segment on Keaton. Do we want to pause for a second with any super chats, or do we want to move on?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do it.
All right.
Appreciate you guys for being with us on this Victory Monday. Over 3,100 concurrents, including 1,200 plus in the YouTube space. So you guys are out in droves today. We appreciate you for being here. If you could like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do those things that really help us grow organically. We'd really appreciate it. We left off with, as I scroll down, Jared Thomas. So we picked things up with Joe Jenkins, who's gifted a 5 spot, 5 new channel Vaultrons here inside the vault today. Appreciate you, Joe. Tactical Precision Training LLC celebrating 3 months of channel membership. And TPT says, Gunry is one of the best ranges in the country. I've been there when my son was 3 years old, and he loved it. Harbaugh is slacking big time. And Sarah, just because you had all the different moving parts go on during today's read, our new incentive, as I know you know, is now promo code Vault Event at Gunry Maryland, and they have premier spaces to rent out, whether it be for wedding venues, whether it be for birthdays, milestones, you name it. And that code Vault Event is going to get Vaultrons $250 off their deposit. So it is state of the art over there. They do great work. And I just wanted to mention that once more. Appreciate you, Tactical. And thanks again to Gunry for the continued support. DreDog679 is here.
Snoop with them dentures like Rex Ryan with laughing emojis.
Joe Jenkins celebrating 6 months with us. And he says, keeping up on my membership promise. Thank you, Joe. 100% love for Bobby, Sarah, and the Vaultrons. And that is reciprocated love, JJ. Lainey Lately's here.
She says Snoop may very well have saved the Ravens season. Hashtag Snoop Nation.
Taurus says game plan with Huntley's way different than with Lamar. We're talking about stylistically, schematically, Taurus. Somewhat similar. Joe Jenkins says Cooper Rush is definitely third string. Yep. Appreciate you, Joe. And thanks to all of our super chat donors today. Partner, I hand the baton off to you. Let's talk about 34, shall we?
34. Woo, did he burst onto the scene yesterday with that trademark speed that we've seen from him before. And what's funny is we saw it in the preseason games. We saw that he was back to his full speed. He was on our show over the draft, and he said, just watch this movie. And he just needed a chance. And yes, the Ravens have Derrick Henry, obviously, and you do not want to take him off the field very often. But they also kept Justice Hill above of Keaton Mitchell. And Justice Hill has been great with pass protection, and he's speedy too, but he's not as speedy as Keaton. And as we now are seeing the way he just completely, Bobby, we go into the fourth quarters, especially in 2025, when the Ravens have a lead and everybody gets nervous. And the Ravens want to be able to lean into their run game in the fourth quarter to just eat away at the clock and just snatch the souls of defenders. And this season, they haven't been able to. And we even saw a moment there where they try to run Derrick Henry up the gut at the goal line. He hit a wall and he had to bounce to the outside. And so Keaton Mitchell brings a whole different dynamic. When people can't catch you, when they say speed kills, that's a game changer right there. And I don't think the Ravens can justify not using him anymore. He only got 4 carries, but dang it, he averaged 10.8 yards per carry. And he just is an excellent complement to Derrick Henry. I said that last night. And, you know, I said last night, hopefully the Ravens continue to use him. It's got to be more than hope. It has to be more than hope. They've got to use this game-changing speed where he brings a completely different element. Bobby, they did not have Lamar Jackson in there. They didn't. They were in the fourth quarter. They turned to him, not just Derrick Henry. And here's this third person that can change the game for you. You got to continue to use it. It can't be hopeful anymore. It's just do it. Go out and do it.
Don't forget, too, you mentioned the carries. Well, we're talking 6 total touches if you include the 2 kickoff returns, one of which he went for 39. So much positive, right? When Keaton had the football in his hand, so much positive results came from it. So, he does bring that element of speed, that element of burst, the cutting ability, and he just kind of shoots through different gaps and lanes and windows, and it's so fun to watch, and it brings that missing piece that we've often talked about when it comes to Keaton. And I can't wait to share what I know you and I were both on the same page about here. We're going to bring in Derek Coleman tomorrow from All 22 Ravens film analysis, but we're going to bring him in right now in the sense of from a snippet standpoint. We were watching his post-game reaction, and he just went off on this idea of the Ravens somehow, some way, not involving Keaton Mitchell, whether it was listing him as inactive on game days earlier this season, Sarah, or just limiting his overall touches after an entire preseason of hearing that he, like you've already alluded to, hearing that he clocked like pre-ACL speed, right? Hearing that he was lighting it up in training camp, watching him light it up in the preseason. And it's like, why? Like, we get it. There's a lot of mouths to feed, and you've got King Henry, and we know that the ever-reliable Justice Hill has earned the right to be a guy within this offense. And apparently Rasheen Ali was the guy from a special teams perspective. But nobody that I just mentioned quite brings the dynamic element that Keaton does to this offense. And you already know Derek Coleman was happy at the end result yesterday. But at the same time, Sarah, running a little bit hot in terms of how we got here to begin with.
It makes me confused and frustrated, to be honest with you, in that he only had 3 carries before today's win, and that was in the loss to the Texans. He was inactive for multiple games. The reason or justification from Harbaugh was he doesn't play on special teams. I mean, we heard from so many people in training camp about how dominant he was, how impressive. Ken from Film Study Ravens even said, he's been the best player in training camp. And in the preseason, we got confirmation there. He was spectacular in the limited times or limited exposure we saw of Mitchell in the preseason. I get it that overall we were all fed a line of bullshit from training camp by the media. Well, actually, multiple lines in terms of how good the defense was. But that one, Mitchell clearly has a lot of ability. He can change the game with one touch. That first pin pull pitch, it's in the third quarter. I think it's a 2nd and 7, 2nd and 8. Nobody on our roster, including Lamar, gets the corner in that way. No one. Mitchell has to get touches, to me. Let's just for a moment pretend or operate as if Lamar is not going to play on Thursday. For this offense to get close to its ceiling without Lamar, Mitchell's got to get touches. He does. To me, he's a special talent. And it's a borderline unconscionable, indefensible position to say that he doesn't have the talent to get opportunities. They sat him, didn't make him active. Today, he's suddenly getting the ball in the fourth quarter when we're up 16-13. We have Derrick Henry, who we're paying a significant amount of money for. It just seems to be so difficult to justify that he's not on the field. He's inactive for multiple weeks. And then this week, he's getting the ball after it's the possession before Wiggins' interception, right? It's a sequence basically that leads to the Wiggins pick, I should say. Mitchell's got the ball twice on that possession. We remember we faced the 3rd and 5. The Bears brought pressure. They nearly get an interception, I think by Biard. It's tipped by Tremaine Edmonds, who only had 3 tackles today, which is shocking because he came into the game with 60 really active. Anyway, I think it's just a huge amount of confusion being put out there by John Harbaugh. And I have to point it out. I believe, like I said, that he had 3 touches in the fourth quarter today, he being Mitchell, after supposedly not being worthy of being made active instead of Rasheen Ali. And now they're both out there returning kicks. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm glad we won, and I'm going to remain positive after this little diatribe. But given Mitchell's ability to change the game with one touch, I'm struggling to move past that. I'm struggling to say that there's any reason he shouldn't have 22 to 25 touches at this point where we are now after 7 games, meaning cumulative over the first 6 games coming into today.
Yeah. I mean, when you watch what he just did, it's hard not to ask the question, why did it take this long? And John Harbaugh was actually asked that. We're not the only ones asking that. So John was asked by Kyle Goon of the Baltimore Banner yesterday, and Kyle pointed out, he said he was inactive for a few games earlier this season. Did anything happen over the bye, or was there anything in particular that made you think that this was the game to get him involved? John responded, well, over the bye, one of many things we looked at was we have to tag plays for Keaton Mitchell. We just said we have to do it. You want to make sure Derrick Henry gets his reps and Justice Hill is effective, but we just said we got to tag plays for Keaton Mitchell and make sure we get him the ball. And that's what we were able to do. I think we had 3 plays where we got the ball, where he got the ball. It ended up being 4. Who else was asked about it? Derrick Henry. He was asked in the locker room how much it meant to see Mitchell make plays in the fourth quarter. He says, yeah, it was huge for us. We call him Wink with his speed. I'm sure everybody knows that, and you've seen it out there. So I'm very proud of him getting the opportunities that we had and taking advantage of them. There'll be plenty more for him to do. He did a heck of a job today. And then finally, Keaton Mitchell himself, this is awesome. They asked him about getting this opportunity finally. He says, I feel great. It felt great. Man, I almost blacked out. He said, thank God I was praying, staying patient. And when I got the chance, just do what I do. Just do it. Everybody sees it. Keaton is just like he was. He's been patient. He's been a team guy. Derrick Henry's like, yeah, I loved it too. John Harbaugh finally said, we got to tag him. Keep it. Now, in that clip, I don't know if we put it in that clip or another one, but Derek Coleman said he thinks that he should have 20 to 25 touches. I feel like that might be asking a little much given that you have Derrick Henry. Go ahead.
I think my interpretation of that was at this point in the season. The total of what he's asking for at this point in the season, not per game.
Oh, okay. That he should have 20 to 25 by now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I'd say even more than that. Then I was going to go the other direction.
So, you're just asking for something.
He's asking for more. Yes. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So, yeah, I don't know because, listen, they were saying special teams. I remember Todd Monken maybe all the way back in minicamp, he said it's going to be tough to do it. And it could be special teams reasons. It could be he needs to block better and pass protection. But how do you not, as John Harbaugh said, tag him earlier than this? And am I missing something? Is Derrick Henry terrible on third downs and pass protection? If you're looking for new personnel packages so that you're not being so predictable and putting Justice Hill out there almost all the time on third down to do pass protection, why not be able to put Derrick Henry out there? Why not put Keaton Mitchell sometimes on first down or whatever? Yeah, tag him some more. 4, was it based off of the way he was running? Wait until basically the fourth quarter to call his number. Let's mix him in sooner. And maybe he won't black out as often. Maybe he won't black out because it'll become the norm. He talked about almost beating the safety. He's like, oh man, I thought I had the safety, but I got what I got. Just keep giving him chances to change the game.
Heck, even if he doesn't stack up against some of your others and from a special teams perspective, and maybe the occasional issue or deficiency from a blitz pickup, which is what you were just referenced, keep giving him chances to return kicks. He's going to put you in a position that's going to be made up for it. That's going to be made up. You're going to make up for some of those deficiencies if you start in your own territory, if you start closer to midfield, Sarah, if you start, with that type of field position. And then not to mention some of the unpredictability that his sheer presence alone, even if you aren't going to directly involve him in a play, will give you. Bring all of that.
Yeah.
Bring all of it. And at some point down the line, we'll have a conversation if this if this season goes in the wrong direction, and they don't end up qualifying for the playoffs, we'll have these hard conversations down the line in terms of why he was inactive early on, why he was not used. Right now, use them and get yourself back into the playoff picture, because he brought a flair yesterday that they so desperately needed. And you put Lamar now into that equation with Ricard back, even if it is on a snap count, which he clearly was last night, then you're going to be cooking and looking a lot more recognizable.
Absolutely. And then it also is a way to like help save Lamar. I mean, when Lamar does get back, whether it's Miami or 10 days after that, I don't know. But it's another way that it's like you're adding speed to the team without having to like have Lamar test that hamstring too soon. You don't want Lamar testing it and then he re-aggravates it. And now we're like, ooh, can he make it back for the playoffs again? It's another way to just add another element to threaten somebody without having to push Lamar too quickly as he comes back.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It just makes you think about if he couldn't go on Sunday, then what's his percentage going to be, realistically speaking, 5 days from that day, meaning this week on Thursday? Just assuming that, going off of what you're saying here, which is essentially, and I'm just what you made me think of, which is he's not going to be 100% on Thursday. And so if that's the case, then that just further strengthens your argument. Burden what was it? Spread the burden is what somebody said years ago on this show in our live chat, because we were always saying, Superman and cape-like references for Lamar. Spread the burden, use the talent around you, and Keaton better be one of those pieces.
Well, and John Harbaugh did say that ultimately it was the trainers and Lamar who just felt like 2 games in 5 days would be too much for him to return to. So that was them saying, we don't want to make him do 2. So maybe they're open to the 1. And then you get a 10-day break. So you can either save him, which as well as Huntley played, if Lamar is healthy enough, I'd prefer to see him out there. But that, again, needs to be Lamar and the trainer's call. But the way he phrased it made it seem like they want to just do 1 in those 5 days instead of 2. Next topic?
Yep.
Okay. We talked about this a little bit. You kind of saw a tweet that kind of mentioned it. There was still a lot of national talk yesterday about, since we're talking about Lamar, there was still a lot of national talk about what could potentially happen as a consequence for the Ravens listing Lamar Jackson as a full participant when he played the entire practice, but not his normal starter reps and ran the scout team. So Mike Florio, in front of the whole nation, prime time on NBC Sports, heading into that Sunday night football game between the Steelers and Packers, they brought this up, and here's what he had to say of what could happen as a consequence.
Happened this week. Okay, so when is a player who fully participated in practice not fully participated in practice? It's a complicated question, but it's actually a simple answer, and the rule's been on the books for a very long time. If you're a starter and you don't take all of the first team reps, even if you fully participated, and what Lamar did was participate on the scout team, you were limited. And the Ravens knew this, and they got it wrong. He should have been listed as limited. He was listed as fully participating in practice.
Okay, so there's obviously a lot of factors at play here with the designation. Let's start with the punishment that the Ravens could face with these actions.
Well, John Harbaugh, the coach of the team, told reporters after the game it was an honest mistake, but that still sets the Ravens up for some sort of a sanction. The question is, when the league looks into this, will they determine there was some sort of an effort to conceal his true status by saying he fully participated? Maybe the Bears would think he's going to play. If they find something like that, the punishment could be worse. And for now, the Ravens are looking at fines. Okay. They're looking at the potential loss of draft picks, and even suspensions are on the table based upon what the NFL may find out. A source told me today the NFL understands, given what happened in the NBA, it's very bad optics. And as the source said, it's an opportunity for the league to make a very strong statement on a very important topic and look for all other teams to go back and look at their procedures and make sure they get it right going forward.
Hey, look.
Okay, so Bobby, he actually said contradictory things in there, and this is where, like, I do want to push back. He said, and the Ravens knew this, meaning they definitely knew the rule. And then he also said he recognized that they said it was an honest mistake. Now, I talked about it briefly, or I talked about it at length yesterday. I'll just repeat briefly. When I was in PR, we were in charge of the injury reports. I had no clue of that rule, and I often put that injury report out. And so when he says they knew this, John Harbaugh said literally yesterday, yeah, I didn't know the rule. He's like, I didn't know about it, you know? And so, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether they knew it or not. They need to know the rules. They need to know it. I just like to push back on character assassination when you don't have hard proof. You know, like you need to have proof that they like knowingly went out and try to cheat the system. Now, for sure, Harbaugh and the Ravens are constantly trying to hide injury information up to the point that they're allowed to. But in the 20 years that I've covered them, never have they like done something wrong with the injury report. Okay. Within the rules, all coaches try to hide what people's statuses are. So now if they did know it and the NFL investigates, fine. But he just said contradictory statements there. And it's the same thing with tweets like this. Where did right here. So Nick Wright, I think the first paragraph makes sense. He says, I understand the gambling implications of the Ravens. He says lying. Couldn't have been a mistake. It has to be lying. Has to be. Couldn't have been that like PR saw that he played the entire time. And so they put full. Harbaugh also said full. So that's on him. That's a mistake that they are going to have to live with the consequences on. But you saying that you knowingly know that they lied, you don't know that. Okay. He says lying on the injury report regarding Lamar's status, but that's actually an incidental story in this. He says the real story is the Ravens listing Lamar as a full participant as a way to pressure him into playing and Lamar rejecting it. Samuel Njoku, I agree with. He responds to Nick Wright and says, without proof, that last paragraph is insane. So call out the Ravens for their sloppiness. Call out the Ravens for getting it wrong. Call out the Ravens for saying you absolutely needed to know this rule. And you can even say, maybe they got caught, but you're saying it as if it's fact. And I agree with Samuel, without proof, those type of statements are insane.
So we get to Bill Cowher's statement, because what he talked about as it relates to John Harbaugh on the CBS show yesterday, I think also there were other names mentioned as well. Coaches that were under fire in the week that led up to Sunday, and coaches that got it done as a result. Two of them will be playing on Thursday night in Miami. Here is the legendary former Steelers head coach, Bill Cowher.
Picture notes, coaches who were on the hot seat and being talked about aggressively in some corners, they ought to be fired. Let's talk about them. It was Mike McDaniel. You'll talk about him.
He won.
Of course, Aaron Glenn.
He won.
And you really got incensed when somebody mentioned John Harbaugh to you.
Yeah, I think there.
Nate saw that chin jut out. Talk to him.
Well, you know.
Feel it. I could feel it. It was on a Zoom, JB, and I could feel it.
Yeah. You know, I know John, and I talk to John periodically, and John loves this kind of stuff. I mean, he doesn't love being there, but he doesn't run away from it. He embraces the challenge. He embraces the naysayers, and he challenges his team with that. And I think this football team reflects that. And I think Snoop Huntley, as what he say, he texted John Harbaugh. He said he wanted to come back into the National Football League because he says he wanted to play for the best organization. And what did John Harbaugh do? He texted him right back and said, please join us.
You were chuckling there. What were you chuckling?
Well, just because he clarified real quick. He doesn't like being in this situation. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
He does not prefer to be in this situation, but it is where he finds himself. And obviously, it was a really, really noisy week. John Harbaugh at the top did enough from an organizational standpoint, Sarah, to answer said noise, keep their season alive. He should be commended for that. I thought if there was an area to push back from his press conference was when he took direct aim at the quotes that he really doesn't refer as anything. He says it's nothing, the anonymous quotes, because there weren't names attached to it. He's got to say that. As you said last night, I agree with you as the head coach. You got to get up there, and that has to be your approach to it. But it doesn't just erase clearly what was going on in the days leading up to and over the bye in the days that led up to week 8 with some internal, what do you want to call it? Friction, turmoil. Maybe those are strong words, but clearly there was criticism aimed at Todd Monken, the OC.
Yeah. And their criticism in there was all true. We had said it before it even came out that wasn't predictable, or that his play calling was predictable. I thought it was better yesterday. And that maybe he was trying to do too much and like getting other people the ball and then, taking Derrick Henry out in like goal line situations, stuff like that. So it was true, but yeah, his response was what it was. And so I just want to say about Bill Cowher there, I think he's right that John Harbaugh doesn't back down. So what he was trying to say, he's like, oh, he lives for these moments, meaning like, sure, count us out, all that kind of stuff. He lives for that. So everything he said about John and who he is, I think is true. And I obviously am sticking up for the Ravens in terms of making an honest mistake only because I was a part of that. That being said, I don't need those narratives to change my earlier statements, which is that John Harbaugh has had 8 bites of the apple with Lamar Jackson. And I think if he can't get it done this year, somebody else should get a chance. I don't need the injury report snafu or anything like that to change my opinion on that. I think that what we just talked about, taking too long to bring Keaton Mitchell in, or taking too long to move on from Cooper Rush to go to Tyler Huntley, or taking too long still not moving off of Daniel Fa'alele, those types of decisions to me are evidence. And plus, on top of it, not performing the way you should in the playoffs with as talented as a roster as you have. Those reasons to me are why I don't think that John Harbaugh or Bill Cowher or anybody else can take a victory lap after beating the Chicago Bears, even though it was a complete must-win game and they deserve their flowers for winning it. But now they got to go on and do much more. And even if they make the playoffs, like the goal always coming into this, my goal, as I've stated from the beginning, is Super Bowl or bust. And so the injury report, all the other stuff, I don't need that to change my opinion. My opinion stands. I need to see the Ravens go further in the playoffs with this duo of Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh in order to convince me that you should continue this way going forward. But all the rest on like what Bill Cowher said about his personality, I'm 100% there with.
I don't know how anybody could take a victory lap. I mean, they're trying to become the 5th team since 1970 to dig themselves out of a hole that they dug for themselves. So it's a great first step, as we've talked about ad nauseum now throughout the opening part of the show. And now it's up to them on a short week to take that second step and find a way to beat the Miami Dolphins. And maybe.
I was just going to say one last thing in terms of consequences for the injury report. I don't know anything. I don't have experience with this and seeing what the NFL will do to people when they get the practice status wrong. I would be a little bit surprised if they forfeited a draft pick. I would think a fine is probably appropriate. I would think that a draft pick is a little much for putting him down as full when he played the entire practice, but not at his practice reps and getting that wrong. They should know it. It was sloppy. They should have listed it correctly. John Harbaugh shouldn't have said at the podium. He played in full. All that is wrong. But draft pick compensation wrong, that would be a little too much for me. My guess, and it's a complete guess because I've never seen this go down before, is that it would be a fine.
Yeah, it's hard to have a feel until the investigation concludes. But from what we know, I guess I would agree. But obviously the NFL is going to look into this, and I'd imagine, based on the way Mike's sort of reporting this, according to his sources, that if they make an example of the Ravens, you'd like to, anything might be on the table. Just knowing that the brutal timing of it, 24 hours removed from the biggest NBA scandal in recent years from a betting standpoint, was right there. Yeah, hard to have on my end.
It is hard. I would just think it would be heavy-handed, and it would be for optics of what you just talked about.
Maybe. Unless there's some sort of finding here that does not match up with the way that John Harbaugh handled his press conference yesterday in the sense of integrity. It'd be if there's uncoverings about questioning his integrity and based on what he's on record for saying yesterday, then obviously it's a whole new can of worms, but we don't have anything to suggest that as of right now. Perhaps on this short week, the Ravens will allow Carl Lawson to make his Baltimore debut. They brought him in this past week. Of course, the veteran pass rusher, spent last year in Dallas, was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in 2017. So the Ravens are pretty familiar with him. He spoke with reporters post-game, and he also spoke with me over DMs and would like to come on the show at some point in the near future, which hopefully we can commit him to. He said he passed on other opportunities this season because they didn't feel like a good fit to him. And he said he's been sharpening his axe and feels like he can do everything at a high level. Much like he's tweeted in recent days, Sarah, saying that it's even better in terms of his current overall status than what he put forth last year in what was a 5-sack season with the Cowboys in 15 games. So, propping himself up, firing himself up. We'll see if he stands tall and gets an opportunity to play as a Raven coming up on Thursday night.
Sure. I just keep, like I said, if he can hit a Josh Bynes level, that would be great. Meanwhile, I still hope the Ravens and Eric DeCosta, especially since they just won this game, are looking even harder into the trade market for somebody that, can bring a little bit more impact than what I'm assuming Carl Lawson could have. Maybe Carl Lawson just becomes a superstar. I'm not predicting that. Maybe he does that, which is why I want Eric DeCosta to still be looking at the trade market. I'm sure he is. We've got some conflicting reports. A lot of people in Baltimore are really wondering about defensive tackle Quinnen Williams right now. Okay. So last week, later in the week, Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic tweeted, the Jets are not actively shopping Quinnen Williams right now per sources. Teams have been calling about him because the Jets are 0-7 and because of the perception that Williams is unhappy, but they are not entertaining moving the Pro Bowl defensive tackle. It would take a pretty significant offer for them to even have that conversation, I'm told. Prior to that, however, a different source told, what's SNY? Is that Sports New York? Is that what it is? Okay. Here's what they said on a podcast before that report.
You mentioned Quinnen Williams. I thought the same thing. First round pick, plus 1 and a 3, 1 and a 4. I was told by somebody very tied into this situation that the Jets probably looking at a 2 for him. And the reasoning for that is there's no real substantial guaranteed money left on his deal after this year. Teams know there are rumblings around there that Quinnen Williams is currently unhappy. That's the perception outside of Florham Park. We haven't talked to Quinnen to ask him if he's unhappy. He 100% would not tell the media the truth if he's unhappy or not. But the perception out there is Quinnen's not necessarily happy. The Jets, it's known that the Jets have rebuffed his desires to have his contract restructured and adjusted and more guaranteed money added. So if he's going to be traded, it's because Quinnen wants out and the guaranteed money isn't necessarily there as they would expect. I don't know if I still trade him for a 2, man. He's so good. Like, Quinnen's really, really good. And if you move him, that sends, I think, a terrible message to the locker room. I really do. And I was on board of, hey, watch him to be moved, watch him to the Cowboys, watch him something like that. But if it's only a 2, that's a hard sell to the locker room.
Yeah, that's pretty low compensation. If anybody gets him for a 2, boy, let it be the Ravens. And I would be doing backflips if the Ravens were to get him for 2. But so anyway, conflicting reports. He followed up, that video and tweet saying, hey, that's just one of his sources. Obviously Zach reporting something differently, but it's these type of conversations, these type of phone calls I imagine Eric DeCosta is looking in on, because we just saw it. Ravens have as good of a chance as anybody to win the AFC North. So if you make it to the playoffs, you're coming together in so many different areas. You've got to get that defensive line to put more pressure. You cannot rely on manufactured pressure against better offenses. It's going to work against the Bears. It might work over the next 5-game stretch, but it's got to be more. So a Quinnen Williams type trade is something that the Ravens sorely need right now.
Go get that win. Go get that win on Thursday night.
Win in Miami.
Allow Eric to do what I'm sure he wants to do. Feels like they have to do if they keep winning. Kyle Van Noy finally got a chance to do a post-game podcast after a win, and he had this to say about his former locker mate from last year, Nate Wiggins.
This dude is, I want to take a little, he's kind of like my little brother because I spent so much time with him last year. Nate Wiggins, he was my locker next to me. And, I always tell him, if you have a bad game, I'm going to tell him to put you back next to me. I got Malachi, so he's my new little brother. But Nate, if you mess up, you got to come back and move your locker back next to me. So, but Yeah, I appreciate Nate. He's worked really hard. He's turned into CB1 before our eyes. He's really been playing at a high level all year. Just got to keep it going. He should make the Pro Bowl and be in conversations for All-Pro for how well he's played personally, and he's helping the defense out.
So, seeing a lot of responses to this, they're like, what are you talking about? Did you not watch the first half? Did you not watch, Nate having a target on his back and Rome Odunze having his way and so on and so forth? And all of that stands. Sarah, it might be the hardest position outside of quarterback in the entire sport, corner. And for Nate to come back and have a short memory, which you have to have at that position, jump the route, have the last laugh. Again, that was a pass, the interception. That was a pass intended for Rome Odunze. And Nate Wiggins' instincts, Nate Wiggins' speed, Nate Wiggins' ball handling, and his playmaking ability totally shifted the entire momentum in that game yesterday. And the Ravens so desperately needed it because they have not gotten those types of game-changing plays from their defense for years now. And so while he did, Rome absolutely. The first half went to Rome, but the overall game went to Nate. And so sometimes that's just how it goes with the cornerback position. And given his slender, I know he beefed up this offseason, but he's a slender type player. So those beefier, those more physical wide receivers can have their way at times with Nate. But he shows that he's got a fearlessness. He's got a willingness to travel with you. He wants to be great. Look at what he did against Davante Adams. This is a player that's developing in year 2. And you heard what Kyle, I buried the lead. Kyle called him CB1. So that's the main takeaway from what KVN had to say.
CB1, you said he doesn't have fear. Yeah, no, he doesn't. Here's what he said post-game.
Chuck Pagano, so that you have been saying, like, give me this receiver. I want to cover him. Was that something you did ahead of this game as well?
Yeah, man. I just I feel like my last year I grew more mature, and I feel like I'm at the top of my game right now. So I feel like no receiver can match up with me. I feel like I can guard him. So why not put me on?
How fun was it watching?
That's courtesy of Baltimore Banner, correct?
Correct. That is courtesy of Baltimore Banner. Nate Wiggins, no wide receiver. I don't know why that's being covered for me. No receiver can match up with me. And so, listen, I like the confidence. I love it, especially when you get an interception in the fourth quarter, when your team absolutely has to have it, and then you set your offense up who has a backup quarterback and needs the team to rally around him. And then you set them up to score. What was it, 1 play or 2 plays later? It was just as timely as it can be. And he is going to his coaches and saying, I want to travel. So that is why Kyle Van Noy is calling him a CB1. Now you look at his grades, because you talked about he was getting targeted in that first half. His grades from Pro Football Focus, he had the 5th highest defensive grade of anybody on the Ravens. Okay, defensively, he got a 64.1. His rush defense, which is, not necessarily, you hope that Wiggins is not having to do too much run defense, doing tackling, 69.2. His tackling is what brought down his grade the most at 54.8. His coverage was a 62.2. So he'll keep getting better. He just said he feels like he's understanding the game better. He's got a lot of speed. He's only in his 2nd year. He's just going to keep ascending. And I feel like at the cornerback spot, it's really the guys that are out there on like these islands, whether it's wide receiver or corner. You just have to have that level of throw it away. I'm still the best cornerback that there is. All the confidence in the world. You have to do it when you're out on the island. You have to do it when you want to play the best. And how can you hate on it? I mean, you can only hate on it if he's like a Brandon Stevens again. But when he's getting those picks in the fourth quarter, when your team needs it, he can talk all that talk that he wants.
Yeah, he's a future cornerback in Baltimore too. I mean, Marlins had, multiple extensions over his time since, they drafted him in what was it, 2016 or 17. So Nate is the future. We'll see what happens to Marlins, overall tenure, and if he plays anywhere else outside of Baltimore. But you like that. You like the way he handles that press conference, and you hope that he continues to develop in Zach Orr's defense, because the guy's got God-gifted talents. Like, he is just so smooth the way that it's like if you just watch him run, watch him backpedal, it's like he's floating out there. So much more to come for Nasty Nate. You brought this in of Broussard.
Well, these are some quick hits. If we're ready for that now. I'm excited to watch Broussard today because he's always got so many bits. Last night, he tweeted this little image of games with a scribble over it. He says, playtime's over. We are so back. Other people, first things first, puts him back in his purple robe and his purple Jordans with his chips and sandwich and sunglasses. Now, he said he was going to retire until they play somebody that's a little bit bigger. I don't think that any of the next 5 weeks constitutes that. But I am so ready for his bit later today when he's back on First Things First. Meanwhile, the Ravens, because Pat Ricard came back, they released, as we know, tight end Zaire Mitchell-Padden, who had been filling in for Pat Ricard as a fullback, and he immediately got picked up by the Saints. They were the ones awarded him off of waivers. So he heads on over to New Orleans. I think he was already actually there this Sunday. So good for him. Glad he got picked up, but I'm even happier that Pat Ricard is back.
Happens quickly, right? Happens very quickly. You're on to a new city, new organization, just bang, 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 just like that as an undrafted rookie. Couple different Jets things that I feel like are totally worthy of quick hits, totally worthy of our time. You just, from a human being standpoint, I think you guys maybe will appreciate this and maybe have already seen it because it's gone viral. Sarah, Woody Johnson is the New York Jets owner, and he made comments about Justin Fields that I don't even know what the right adjective is to describe them. They were just so demeaning, so insensitive, and so very unsupportive. You're the team owner. I'm not saying it wasn't necessarily true, but it's like, dude, you are the face of your it is your franchise. And he trashed Justin Fields in the days that led up to this past weekend against the Bengals. And Justin got up and was extremely, to use his words, vulnerable with the media at his post-game press conference last night. Here's a part of that.
It's been a lot of, it's been a lot for me, emotionally, spiritually. When I was on the field, I was damn near about to start crying, but not because we won, but just because of the goodness of God and just how everything, works for the greater good, everything that I've been through this past week, everything that we've been through as a team these past 7 weeks. It was a lot of ups and downs. I got a lot of support from my teammates, from my brothers, from my family, from my friends, and most of all, I'm just thankful, thankful for the Lord's that He blessed me. I mean, shoot, yesterday I'm praying like crazy, just for a win, and this I'm gonna get pretty vulnerable right here, but this week I kind of I found myself in my closet crying, on the ground, laying down, not because of the hardships, not because of the troubles. I felt like, I was built to handle that, and I was put in place to handle this situation. But in that moment when I was talking to my best friend, how hard it was, and just, not wavering faith-wise, I just had gotten a text from my sister and my stepmom, and it was just an encouraging text on, just keep going and keep spreading the faith, and they just sent me a link on social media, and I tell you guys all the time that I'm not on social media, so I didn't see it. So that was just it was just a sign from God for me to keep going, and that I'm in the right place. Yesterday I was just praying over and over and over again, like just one win, and but all that to say is that God is real, God is good, and everything that we go through in this life is for a purpose. So.
Let me tell you, if your reaction to that, and I see some in the live chat that have said something similar to this. If your reaction to this is immediately going to his salary as a way of downplaying what he just said, I mean, you missed the point. You completely missed the point. These guys are the man in the arena, if you will, and they have the weight of the world on their shoulders. Are they doctors? No. Are they saving lives? No. Is it life or death? No. But it is the National Football League, and it comes with a level of scrutiny that in a lot of ways is incomparable, right? That's unmatched. And so for Justin to have been spoken on the way that he was by his own owner, having been winless at the time, and yes, he is some of the reason to blame for them being winless leading into yesterday's unbelievable comeback, by the way, against the Bengals, which certainly helped the Ravens out and helped the AFC North out. For his owner to go out there and stick him on an island as if he himself and not Woody Johnson or the entire organization top down were to blame. Like it's a team-wide blame, not one player blame. And I thought Alex Smith did a great job of holding Woody accountable for his comments on yesterday's pregame show on NFL Countdown. He said, quote, maybe the problem's you. And he said, I'm sorry, maybe the problem is you, Woody. He uses his first name. He says, maybe you look in the mirror. You have the longest playoff drought in all of the NFL. It starts at the top and it trickles down. This is cowardly. And Alex Smith certainly, Sarah, can speak to having played within an organization through epic dysfunction. That was Washington under Dan Snyder. And so there's plenty of dysfunction with the Jets. It's much more than just Justin Fields and some of the weaknesses that he's put out on tape, some of the underperformance. And I thought it was really admirable the way that he handled his post-game press conference. Very classy. Very classy, very admirable. You know, it's interesting. There are certain things plenty of things can go wrong in life. And one of those things, it's one of the reasons why public speaking is often listed as people's greatest fears. And it's because there's a lot of judgment. The eyes are looking at you. Eyes are looking at you, and those eyes represent judgment, whether people say things or not. One tough thing that can happen to anybody in life, no matter how much money you make or otherwise, is public humiliation, reputation destroying. And you said it really well, like the Jets are underperforming. And part of that reason is because of his underperforming performance, which makes it even harder. So when you know that some of the public embarrassment that you have, and it's like the whole NFL football world is looking at you, and very few people, regardless of how much money they have, most people would buckle under that amount of weight of judgment. And maybe it's fair judgment, but the judgment is still there, and the embarrassment is still there, and the attacks are still there. And so you have to be incredibly mentally tough. And the way that he detailed out how he was able to take that weight, stand up with it, and even when you're down by as many points as they were, what was the deficit in the fourth quarter? I know it was double digits. It might have been close. It might have been close to 20 points, maybe around 16 or something like that. And so you had your owner come out and throw you under the bus. Your fan base, who are, is throwing you under the bus, and fans have the right to do that. But internally it's happening. And then yourself that you could probably play better. And so that takes a mental toll. And the way he was able to go through that and lean on his family and lean on his faith, and then go in and stand up to it even into the fourth quarter and come out with a win. I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I still don't expect the Jets to go on and be these playoff contenders, but he'll have that to lean on for the rest of his life, that, you know what, I can take the judgment of the entire NFL world, fair or not, and I can still stand up to it and keep my faith and keep going. And I think that's a wonderful lesson that he'll be able to lean on for the rest of his life. Well said. You feel for the guy on top of all this from a football perspective, because the only ounce of true stability that he's had a chance to experience in the National Football League was a 6-game starter sample size where he went 4-2 with the Steelers and Mike Tomlin last year, before they ultimately handed the keys of the car over to Russell Wilson, who I think was dealing with a calf the first 6 weeks. And so certainly you look back and it's you don't know what if, right? It's a big if. Where would the Steelers have gone under Justin Fields all of last year? And obviously it didn't work out for him where his career began, which was in Chicago. There were a number of reasons as to why he was among those reasons, but there was plenty of dysfunction and not a ton of stability during his time as a Bear. And now he's on a 1-7 team that is on the mathematical fringe of being eliminated from the playoffs. So you do feel for a guy like that. You wish him the best. And I think we both salute him for the way that he handled everything that took place. And again, Cyrus, you're missing the point, man. Anybody who immediately turns to the salary is missing the point. Along the Jets line here, another quick hit. I know we're getting ready to wrap up here shortly. Very sad news yesterday. Nick Mangold, former New York Jet, and a center and a Ring of Honor member and a beloved figure in the New York area for Jets fans, passed away at 41, Sarah, yesterday due to complications from kidney disease. And Rex Ryan, in a moment of, I'm sure, shock, sadness, of course, and just everything that you feel when you're on television or maybe in commercial break and you learn of the passing of somebody that you spent many, many years with as a player-coach relationship during his time with the Jets. All of that led to this. Just an incredibly heartfelt moment from Rex Ryan on his former player.
For so many people, but particularly for you, what are your emotions this morning?
Oh, that's just, it's brutal. It's such a great young man. I had the pleasure of coaching him for all 6 years with the Jets. And I remember it was obvious I was getting fired. My last game, Mangold's injured. And he comes to me and says, I'm playing this game. And he wanted to play for me. That's what I remember about this kid. He was awesome and just way too young. I feel so bad for his wife and family. Rough.
Difficult day, obviously, for so many who knew and loved Nick Mangold, and you among those, and all of the Jets family, the Ohio State family is mourning today as well. Nick Mangold gone at just the age of 41. We'll take a short break, and we'll come back with much more from you.
Oh, Rex.
Ooh, Rex. Dang. 41 is too young. I mean, they pointed out that he was like, he put out, what was it, like a public, I don't know what the word is, but a public request to get a kidney a week ago. Oof.
Yeah.
41 is too young, man. That's crazy.
Beloved. Absolutely beloved. I know Jake is crushed up there in Jets country, and he had a chance to have him on the show many a time. So best wishes, and our hearts are out to the Mangold family. Just a legendary figure in Jets history, and an amazing tribute there. Incredibly heartfelt tribute there by Rex Ryan. Some more quick hits before we get on out of here. We do have some super chats as well. Ed Oliver and the Bills will be without him for a little bit here. He tore his bicep. He's going to be sidelined indefinitely, according to Schefter. He's undergoing an MRI to confirm the injury. And of course, Sarah, who knows? Maybe he injured Lamar unintentionally back in week 1. I know Femi thinks that at least at some point in the Bills game, Lamar may have been injured. Who knows? We'll never probably get down to the bottom of that. But a key standout for Buffalo's defensive line now down. So just following that from a Bills perspective, they are full speed ahead right now. They clapped the Panthers yesterday, put up a 40-burger. So something to watch there. And you actually threw this one in here because I'm sure it hit your timeline. What can you tell me about the Orioles managerial hire?
I put it in here for you to discuss, sir. I know it's a big deal because it's like the manager, but I can't speak to it much. So I put it in here for you.
Well, he's not a big name. I'll tell you that. He's not a big name whatsoever, which certainly doesn't, you hate to start with that. But I think a lot of people were hoping for, sort of a splash hire, if you will, by the Orioles, meaning like a household name. And Craig Albernaz is not that, but he does have a great track record. He's worked in clubs like the San Francisco Giants and most recently the Cleveland Guardians. And he's known as a guy that connects with players. And the Orioles are going to give him a chance. This is a first-year manager. This is not somebody that has experience at the top level as a skipper. in Major League Baseball. And so here we go. He was the bullpen and catching coach for the Giants, and he was associate manager in Cleveland. So they're taking a little bit of a risk, given his inexperience, if you will. But I think they like what he's done in terms of connecting with players, developing players. And the Orioles are going to trust their overall department, and we'll see. The Orioles, obviously, highly disappointing season. They were 12 games under 500, had injuries all over their pitching staff, and now are in a position where they're bringing in a young guy. How old is he? I think he's only in his 40s. Yeah, 42 years old, and they have a young core that hopefully is intact for years to come if they sign him and spend some money. And hopefully this will be the right hire years down the line. But they let Brandon Hyde go in season amidst some of the obviously below they were playing below expectation, and a lot of pressure is on Craig and whoever his staff ends up being here moving forward for the Orioles, who have too much talent to be this lackluster, at least this past season.
So that's happening in both sports. Ravens and Orioles not living up to the talent.
Yep.
Although maybe the talent for the Ravens might have been a little bit overrated, including by myself.
Hey, B. So. Hey, we were both singing the praises of what we thought was going to be a top 5 defense, and then the season began, and here we are. So, you mind if I fit in a quick hit that I didn't tell you about, but it means a lot to me?
Could you imagine if I said no to that? Oh, it means a lot to you? No. Yeah, what's up?
Appreciate that. I'll be brief here. 14 years ago, I confronted death for the very first time. And as you see here, it's me, first of all, far left, Francis, second in from the left.
How old are you there?
Oh my gosh, probably 10, 12 years old. Something like that.
Look at the bill of your hat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That was
Totally. That was the thing back then, right?
For sure. Look, your friend right there has it too. Yeah.
You know it. You know it. And for those that maybe are baseball fans, you probably recognize what we're standing in front of. That's Doubleday Field, famous Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, New York. You know that town has a close place in my heart for sure, being that we grew up there, and my dad, originally is from there and went to Cooperstown High and worked at the Hall of Fame. But that's neither here nor there. The four of us pictured in here, we were as close as you can be during these years. Anthony is third in from the right. He is my best friend to this day. Wow. We grew up together, just blocks away. And far right is who I wanted to speak about today, because 14 years ago today, Kenny Umina, my confirmation sponsor, and Anthony's father lost his battle to leukemia. And it was the first time ever at a really young age that I confronted death. And what I mean by that is they invited us to be bedside for his last breath.
Oh, wow.
And it's something that you never forget, obviously, when you experience that at a young age.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, pay tribute to somebody that I refer to, and it still isn't my contacts today, as Dad too. He was truly a second father to me.
Wow.
He was a special, special person. I know Anthony has gone on to make him extremely proud, pursuing a career in education as a school counselor, helping the youth of upstate New York, not long away from where we grew up. Oh, it's hard because he was so freaking special.
Yeah.
And I really just wanted to salute my best friend, Anthony, for the way that he's honored him the last 14 years by pursuing a career in education. He is the JV basketball coach at Burnt Hills, not long from where we grew up. He does great work for the community, and I know he's making him incredibly proud. So, second fathers, and maybe you can appreciate this, Sarah, going back to your youth. Second mothers, people that you aren't blood related to, but you have a tremendous relationship with. That's what he was for me. And clearly this is the core four right here. The amount of youth basketball games these guys, our fathers, took us to, and everything else in between across all of sports. They were on the same coaching staff for our baseball team at one point. We all were button heads. and having a blast back then, and so many memories. And so Kenny Umina lives on. His legacy always will. 14 years ago today, we lost him way too soon in his 60s. So thanks for letting me add this in.
Oof, yeah, no, I'm glad you shared that, man. We're ending on all these sentimental notes here, and I can tell that it's sentimental to you, emotional, and for you to describe the way you kind of like witness this at such a young age. It's good not to completely shield your kids from the realities of life, right? You don't want to like push it all and pour it on them, of course. But you don't want to completely shield them from it either, because clearly you looking back on this had such an impact on you, and you can see how your best friend, who you're still friends with today, how he's moved forward and brought honor and to his dad's legacy. And that's the way you want to move forward. That's the way you want it. The best way to honor somebody that passes way too soon is to show them, that you honor them through your actions and through your words going forward. And it just seems like still to this day, watching your best friend do that is having a real impact on your life. And that's great. That's an example to us all.
I appreciate that. And, Scrap Skrilla, the reeler, can relate. And he says, salute. He says, I'm still recovering from my year-long battle with leukemia myself. So
wow.
Shout out to you, Scrap, because, man, I watched that. And Anthony had obviously a front row seat, and Kenny went through shingles, and he had his spleen removed, and they were trying every single thing possible under the sun to extend his life. And ultimately, it was just too much to overcome. So, Scrap, my hope is that, that is not your fate. And it sure seems like if you're here with us on a daily basis, that you're going in the right direction. I hope that's the case for you and your family. Thanks,
absolutely.
Paul. Appreciate that. We left off with, I don't know who we left off with. Let's see. Gosh, there was an onslaught of super chats. We left off with Joe Jenkins, and we picked things back up with Wes Hall. I'll let you take this.
Wes Hall says, listening on my way to do a physical test for a potential new job. Awesome. Let's make this a double victory Monday. Yes, let's do that. He's got the flex on him biceps emojis. So good luck, Wes. Hope it all works out.
Yeah, get it done, Wes. Evan says the coaching staff needs to answer for personnel decisions these first 5 games. We all saw Keaton in the preseason, and the camp reports were that he was the most explosive player on the team, yet they sit him. Antoine is here with us.
Antoine says, what would Keaton and Henry's nicknames be? X, Sonic, and Knuckles over in Detroit? Well, I'm trying to figure out how we can put together Wink and the King.
I see what you're doing there. Well said.
I guess they all call him Wink in there. We all call him King. But it doesn't really go together well. King Wink? Wink and King? I don't know.
Is it not good enough, though, to at least go with Thunder and Lightning for the time being? People want a little bit more.
That one is just so used so often is all. But yes, it definitely would be appropriate in this case.
Antoine wants to build off that, which I respect.
Yes.
Wildlife says better late than never, Keaton Mitchell. Joe Jenkins says Keaton should be replacing Hill, who disagrees. And Sherry, just as she did on Friday, is back with gifts. 5 channel memberships thanks to Sherry's generosity. Thank you, Sherry. By the way, she wasn't done there. A second 5 spot has come in, and a super chat, Sarah, in between.
Just adore me some number 34, she says.
And take another one. She's not done. Woo! She's celebrating 5 months, and she's letting it rip today.
She says, hey now, Voltrons, three little birds, Bob Marley, and they are all Ravens.
Okay. Not sure the reference there. Wait a second. 3 little birds, Bob Marley, and they are all Ravens. Okay, I'm following. D. Willie 2.
Can you explain it to me?
I kind of just said that to keep it moving.
Oh.
But you know what? Now that you've called me out, let's do it. 3 little birds, Bob Marley.
Oh, Scrap. Sorry, you're looking it up. Scrap put together Wink and King and put it into one word and called it winking. Come on.
Winking.
Wink King, winking.
Okay.
I like that one.
All right. It's a song.
Oh, it's a song?
I kind of gathered that. It's a
Okay.
song by Bob Marley and the Wailers. It's the 4th track on side 2 of their 1977 album, Exodus. Okay. For our reggae fans out
I still
there.
can't believe I caught you in that.
You did. You did.
did not mean
You did.
to.
Simply for timing purposes. Sorry, Cher. I didn't mean to, turn a blind eye to your super chat or downplay the super chat. Wildlife, Wale, for you.
Wildlife says LJ, DH, and KM is impossible to defend. If you spy 8, Keaton Mitchell has a mismatch versus the linebacker. Don't spy 8. Okay. Bring in another safety and run dime. You're too light in the arse to stop 22. Ben said since training camp on #the vault.
Thank you, Wildlife. Appreciate you. That brings us to another one from Wildlife. And he says, can we call this leg gate? Dre Dog says, when the Ravens overcome this underdog mindset. And Sherry's back and she says, Flores as a reporter is annoying, referring to Mike Florio.
Yeah.
And on top of that, 15 now we're up to in terms of channel membership gifts. Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate you. By the way, she left us a really nice note in our comment section last night. So we thank you, Sherry. We're so glad that you spend so much time with us. Richard says if we make the playoffs.
We've totaled over a meatloaf for Sherry, just an FYI. I don't know if there's more coming, but I just want to let you know.
Okay.
Asmodeus.
Thanks for the reminder. Richard's here. Why don't you take it?
He says, if we make the playoffs, do you see Harbs getting fired? I could see Steve Bisciotti thinking, I know what my standard is. I feel like that I've been given the bites of the apple analogy. For Steve Bisciotti, if they make the playoffs, I can't say that I'd have any confidence that he'd be like, yeah, it's still time to move on. I think he would see that as John really pulled us out of a deep hole.
Wildlife back earlier says, yes, Sarah, exactly why Super Bowl or bust is correct. He also writes, Derrick Henry was able to bounce right for a touchdown because Project Pat completely destroyed the end defender by number 84. That's Zaire Mitchell-Payton, who was claimed by New Orleans. Project Pat is back. And on top of that, go take a look at how Ricard puts a linebacker in the dirt at one point in the third quarter. I'm just letting it play on loop right now over on my Twitter. It's a lot of fun. He was quoted for saying this about that specific play. Again, he just puts a guy on his back. He says, quote, that was worth everything right there. Through all of my rehab and everything to finally play and to get that hit. It felt really good. And this was the best part of it. The last line. I had to let him know. That's right, 42. You're back, baby. Eileen Nolan is celebrating 4 months of channel membership. Sarah, this one's for you.
She says, I miss Eric Hill's sunshine. So do I. She says, I hope he's doing okay. And I hope he knows we love him too. Go Ravens. Sarah, let him know he is the sunshine in the vault. I'll email him back. I know he is. He's just so positive because even when I reached out via email, he made it sound like he was at the end and he'd be back soon. And I just think he is trying to will that into existence. I don't know how serious his injury is. But he's yet to be back on a consistent basis like he was. And I just imagine that he's still, I imagine he's still going through stuff, but I will reach out to him again.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we just were reminded of this or that it was brought up again, because I still have to go back and read the exchange. So thank you. I will do that. And thank you, Eileen, for celebrating 4 months of channel membership. Earl says the tremendous growth with this show is noted by the range and subject matter, great dialogue, award-winning Earl Terrain showing us a whole lot of love. Thank you, ET. Appreciate you, man. Wildlife says Bob Marley's 3 little birds. Every little thing gonna be all right.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know why. Yes. Yeah. Now I get that.
Just right over.
Every little thing gonna be all right. I got the chorus. Just not the verses.
Right over. Nikita is here with us.
Y'all great human beings, Bobby and Sarah. God got big blessings for you too. Appreciate that, Nikita. I bet he does for you too.
Yeah, very much appreciated. Dre Dog says lock and key for Derrick and Keaton. Lock and key is how he's throwing that into the puzzle or into the hat, I guess, in terms of nicknames for the duo.
Yeah. Real quick, I just went back and watched Derrick Henry's touchdown run because I never noticed, or at the time you're just doing so much on Twitter. He's right. Patrick Ricard took care of that defensive end, and Isaiah Likely did good blocking too. Now Patrick Ricard eventually let there was a cornerback that came and tried to beat him. Let me watch this again. He finally releases, Pat Ricard does, but it was too late for him to come back and get him. Woo! I'd give a hat tip to both Isaiah Likely and Ricard on that.
If you were wondering too, because I've mentioned this a couple times, I didn't have the actual concrete information. Now that I have the snap count in front of me from Jeff, 14 snaps, that's 23%. 23% of the share. So for Pat's first game back, that's what they limited him to. Octavian House, appreciate you. You're our patron today. Octavian, OH, Ohio. Thanks, man. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for the support. Patreon.com/RavensVault podcast is how you too can go check out more ways to get involved in the channel and support. And this is Octavian's monthly shout out. Partner, appreciate you. Great show. 2 hours of content for everybody. Great start to the week. We will have on Derek Coleman from Ravens All 22 film analysis at 12:45 tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to this one because he was texting us in the group what he's seen still that are glaring deficiencies with how this defense can still button up. They've played average now back-to-back weeks. How can they take that to the next level? I think Derek's going to have some good answers for those questions. If you could on the way out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. If you haven't already done so, you can consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. And again, we want to say thank you to Gunry. Code VAULT event gets you $250 off your event deposit if you want to rent a venue at Gunry Maryland, which is located in Owings Mills, Maryland. You can find more on that in the show notes and also as a pinned comment if you're in the YouTube space in the live chat. Anything else from you, partner, or are we all set?
I think we're all set.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Appreciate you as always. Appreciate everybody for spending part of your Mondays with us. We'll be back with you in well under 24 hours for our Tuesday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. And as always, Vaultrons, we appreciate the time, and we're glad you spend some of it with us here inside the vault.